I'm Richard Scholey, I'm Creative Director at the Chase. I think like most branding consultancies, you have a very similar process where you learn about the company that you're dealing with before you go on to producing concepts, and then you craft and develop that further. And I don't think we're any different in that way, but I think where we possibly do differ is that we like to bring creativity and visual stimulus into the process maybe earlier than others. I've worked at other agencies where there's a very set team that do all the strategic work and it's very verbal. And then once that's completed, you then get on to the creatives being involved. And we very much like to overlap the two processes, and we do involve creatives in the strategic thinking as well. So there is no sort of, okay, we've finished, these are the words that we've all agreed to, and this is the visual now that you're going to try and produce from those words. And I think it's a much more, that more fluid process helps us in lots of ways. I've worked on projects in the past, in a previous life, where we did a great strategic piece for a vodka brand, and it was all about being slightly irreverent and slightly quirky, and everybody loved it, the client loved it, and we thought it's a great brief to work on, you know, what else could we do? So then we started applying it to the packaging, and the packaging looked great, but as soon as we put it in front of the client, you could see the colour drain from their faces, and he said, oh no, that's not us. We can't be doing that. Where's the Russian swirls and things that we had before? So I think it just goes to show it's a lot easier to buy into words and less of a sort of an instant emotional gut reaction that you get when you're looking at visuals. So we will do that either with, we can do it with mood boards sometimes, but often we try to get creative ideas even in a rough stage earlier on, and it helps us then steer where we're going to go. I guess relating back to the elephant story, it helps us know what kind of animal it is we're trying to produce. I mean, I think craft as a general thing, craft from a practical point of view can be about legibility, can't it? Can be so you don't want to do a great idea and then nobody actually can understand it or see it. We love also collaborating with external people, so, you know, great photographers, illustrators, typographers, writers. So all that adds to the craft of a piece. But I think a lot of the time, what it isn't, and I know we're known for being an ideas-led company, but also the craft is vital to any of those ideas. Sometimes it's certainly not over-polishing. That's not what craft is. Sometimes the craft of a piece can be no craft, if you know what I mean. You don't want it to overpower the idea, but I think where it really comes into its own is it can really help tonally reflect the message that we're trying to put across. You know, we can come up with an idea that really explains what the client does, but in terms of how they do it, then that a lot of the time comes down to the crafting. It's the skill to sort of better reflect how that client behaves, not just what they're saying. And you can do that through crafting it in different ways. You can craft the same idea to be more, we've just done a pitch, not my team, one of Steve's projects, fantastic pitch for a global aid charity. And there were some quite different approaches in terms of the style of messaging. So one was more activist, one was more human, one was more sort of global kind of feel to it, slightly more sort of professional in a way. And each of those ideas were very, very strong. But one was done in a more contemporary manner, one felt a little bit quieter, one was more in your face. And really, you could take any of those ideas and you could use the crafting to actually change the tone on any of those messages. A lot of that, I think, comes from getting the creative there early, because it is more of that gut reaction. You know, you could look at a list of words, you know, and you do get bored with seeing the same words, you know, integrity, innovation, etc., etc. But you don't really, and everybody can buy into those quite easily, but you don't really get that feeling of, yes, that's me, as much as you do when you'll see a visual reference. You know, it's better if you can do it with your own ideas, but even just with mood boards, you know, you could say we did some work for an architect a few years ago, and we literally put up about 20 different architects' websites because we knew what they wanted to say, but it wasn't clear from what the feedback they were giving us whether they wanted to be sort of very young and modern and contemporary, or whether they wanted to be much more about the individual, more of a human approach. So, and there were various other ones. There were some that were very minimal. There were others that were very lively, and it's only when you start experiencing those and seeing those that you can get that gut feel. It's not showing what you're about, it's showing what they're about, which is why I think if you look through the Chase's portfolio of work, you might struggle to say, well, that's a Chase piece and that's a Chase piece, and that's what they're very proud of. We've got Andy Artworker, as he's known. We'll give him some fame. He's sort of very much, his handcraft skills are amazing. You know, if we're doing an exhibition, he will make some of the elements that go in it. He's also got the old traditional skills of typography, where he knows, you know, every letter form inside and out, and could probably draw it and cut it out of film by hand, and you wouldn't know the difference. So it's great that we can pass on his skills in terms of things like the kerning and you know, and just beautiful typography. We've got people here that are very interested in lots of different things, and I think that's probably more important. It's more the heads up and knowing what's out there, rather than particularly being able to do it yourself. You know, we use writers, we use illustrators, we use photographers, we use our own film people. We've got expertise that you would expect in terms of sort of the design and the strategic thinking and writing that are more in-house. And even then we use external writers as well. I think it depends on, you want to be able to use people, again, it's about the tonal thing, isn't it? You want to be able to use people that are most appropriate for that project. Enthusiasm, number one, usually. Intellect is another one. Obviously creativity goes without saying, and design and craft skills. I think I'm always attracted to those first two, someone that can think really well, and someone that's enthusiastic, because, you know, sometimes you are going to need enthusiasm at 2 a.m. when you've got a deadline that's looming. So yeah, definitely energy and enthusiasm is a real plus.